And the time is 12:06 here on 90.3 FM. It's Wednesday. That means it's time for Helping Seniors of Brevard. I'm John Harper, and let me introduce to you right now the host of Helping Seniors of Brevard. That came out kind of slow the first time there, but we'll get that right. We should after 12 years or more, I think, Kerry.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, the host of the show and, more importantly, the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Here is none other than Kerry Fink. Good afternoon, Kerry.
Good afternoon, John Harper. It's always a pleasure gathering on the radio at lunchtime Wednesdays right here on 90.3 FM, WEJF. Hello to those of you who are listening online at WEJF.net. And hello also to those of you who catch this later as a podcast, wherever you catch fine podcasts, anything from, iHeartRadio to Spotify to Apple iTunes. You'll find Helping Seniors there. So, as John Harper was playing our music theme song, I was actually thinking maybe an appropriate theme song today might have been On the Road Again, because I was just talking with our guests. We're all coming from different parts of the county today. Came down from our new office, the Senior Resource Center, right there in the beautiful Omni Healthcare building right there on Apollo, on the main medical campus there in Melbourne. And then I was talking with our great guests. We're going to have a really good show today, but you're going to enjoy getting to hear some of the neat things that are going on. And I'll bet you're going to learn some stuff today, because we're so fortunate to have in the house none other than Rachel McLain. She is the Director of Case Management for the Law Office of Amy B. Van Fossen, and you were making your way in from Viera today.
I am. Thanks for having me.
And also wanted to mention to our other guest, welcome her, longtime doing so much great work in the community at all times, Deidre Shubert with the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation. And we're all excited because we are just a few weeks out. June 15th is actually going to be the date for the 2023 World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And we were just talking again, you were making your way in from the totally other end of the county, coming in from the south end of Brevard.
Oh, yes. Thank you for having me today. I was coming in from Barefoot Bay area, so totally opposite side.
So it's actually funny because we could have been, singing along with On the Road Again or something like that. But, we were talking before the show hit the airwaves that we live in this unique county that's 72 miles north to south. So it is incumbent upon us to try to reach all the seniors every place in the county. And as a media guy, that's really why I like the radio. We're able to talk to people from Micco to Mims and reach everyone. Because I was just had the opportunity earlier this week to talk with somebody about the fact that, here in Brevard County, 1 in 4 of us is over the age of 65. And as you know, AARP will be happy, whether you like it or not, to send you a membership card the day of your 50th birthday. And so they will call you a senior, whether you're up for it or not. And so the point is, if you go by that metric, 1 of 2 of us, if you walk down the street with a clipboard and start saying, how old are you? Are you over 50 or under 50? 1 out of 2 of us would go, yep, we're over 50. So everything that Joe Steckler, our president and founder, has been trying to do with helping seniors from the day he began it, we're now in our 12th year of service here in the county. We operate the county senior information helpline. It's that free call to 321-473-7770. And we're always about trying to get people connected to resources that will make a difference. Joe calls it making an aging plan. We have kind of taken that and run with it, and we call it a little bit getting your ducks in a row, because what we keep learning as we study this is, first of all, if you are planning ahead, you have a lot more options than if you're in the middle of a crisis and trying to sort it out. And then the second part of this that really has become our corollary to the get your ducks in a row thing is, don't try this on your own. There is so much. We are blessed to live in a county that has excellent resources, but you do have to know how to go and find them. And so one of the, the law office of Amy B. Van Fossen and Amy Van Fossen herself has been a longtime friend of the Helping Seniors organization. And yet one of the things that really makes you guys stand out is the fact that you have developed this full case management department, because I don't think that's necessarily something that law offices, even when they're involved in elder issues, do.
You're right. And in fact, most elder law firms don't offer a case management division. Amy had particularly set this up because she found over time she was meeting with clients and they had particular needs to be followed up after she was able to come up with an estate plan for them. And had many of them come to her because they had been exploited or had been handled poorly in the community, and sometimes even by their closest loved ones or professionals. And she wanted to make sure that she was giving them the best resources in town. And this gave her a way to be able to oversee them and make sure that for our clients in particular, we're making sure all their needs are met.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing because I know, Deidre, with what you do with the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation, you kind of carry on something that was near and dear to Joe. In fact, they call them Joe's Clubs to these days. You really are, among other things, a great resources to families that are just trying to manage all the process of everything that they're doing day in, day out. And again, we have all these wonderful, resources available, but people have to know that they're out there, Deidre.
Absolutely. And like we said earlier, Kerry, nothing breaks my heart more than to hear that somebody didn't know that, Joe's Club or case management or whatever it was a service available to them. They shouldn't have to do this alone. We got to get the word out there.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so serious about everything we can do with media. So we do the radio, as you know, we also do television. We broadcast actually 4 times a day on Space Coast government TV, and of course everything we do we always pop out on every social media that you can think of, whether it be YouTube channel we have, the Facebook page for Helping Seniors of Brevard. We try to get it out there on LinkedIn, just wherever somebody might be, even Twitter. We want to try to be available and reach out. And so one of the things I wanted to ask you, Rachel, because again, I don't want to make the assumption that somebody knows what the term case management means. So often, I was telling this story just literally on Monday. I said, I remember when my mom had gone to the hospital and they sent her home to a rehab place and they said, okay, I'm here from occupational therapy. And I looked at the lady with a straight face and I said, but she's retired. She doesn't need that. And then, of course I got my education, so I never want to make the assumption that people understand some of these terms that we use. So what exactly is case management?
Actually, that's a really good question. I think many families hear that term on a regular basis. And in fact, when you're in a hospital setting or you're in a skilled nursing facility, there is a case management department, but they are entities of the building themselves, and their job is to transition you in a level of care safely from one space to the other. And so they have a very direct focus. Case management can also be used in a broader term, and for instance, in the role that I play, I'm a private case manager, which means that I'm not attached to an entity, and in fact, I'm attached to the person. So I would follow that person through every level of care, every need that they might have from housing to bill pay in their personal life, regardless if they're seen.
I was thinking just as you said that, because I think my first, I don't think I'm that atypical. We were trying to help our mothers as they were getting into their senior years. And I remember my mom was going to be discharged from the hospital, and they said, look, she really needs to go for some rehab. And so the lady comes in and introduces herself. I'm the case manager, and I'm here to help your mom. And so we're like, wonderful, we need all the help we can get. And she says, well, here's a book. You can pick out which rehab she's supposed to go to. And I'm thinking you're the case manager. I'm supposed to pick this out. And she said, no. She said, the rules are I can't really help you with that because that's just how it works from inside the hospital. But I think the point that you're trying to get across is you really, when you get involved in case management, you are there really directly to represent the client. And I'm not saying that the lady at the hospital wasn't trying to help. Absolutely. It's just she had a lot of limitations that she couldn't go around.
You're right. And that person at the hospital is by policy directed to give you a list of available sources out there. And they may be able to narrow that down just a bit for you to share what your insurance is available to cover or what beds might be available at one of the facilities. But they cannot direct you in one particular direction to which facility might be best for you or your particular needs. A private case manager, however, is in and out of these facilities on a regular basis. We know what's going on. We know what groups are available to provide very specific sources. So if there's something that you have that is not necessarily a common need, we might know which facilities are able to accommodate those needs. And we also use a resource online through ACA, which is the overseeing authority for each of the home health, the home care, and skilled and assisted living facilities throughout the county, to be able to talk about which facilities are doing best and if they've had any trouble in the past, and if they have, what that trouble looked like and how they resolved those issues, so that you're getting up-to-date and valid information for your particular situation.
Right, and not only that, isn't it true that as you get to sit down with the families, you're able to, we talk a lot about what Nancy does when she takes a call on the Senior Information Helpline. We finally sort of settled on the term that what we think we do is called senior navigation. What we're trying to do is assist people when they call in and they explain what's going on. What we're trying to do is roll through our kind of like, I don't think we call it a Rolodex anymore. I think we're past that. I don't know what but we're trying to work through our list of contacts and figure out, well, based on what this person is telling me, this might be the best approach to trying to tackle this problem. And what I gather is you come alongside so sometimes the senior may not have any family or anybody else they can rely on. So you really become kind of trusted in that capacity. Or a lot of times it could be family, but they're either out of town or so busy. And then they also probably recognize they maybe don't have the expertise to do it. But there's a lot of ways that you guys get engaged by families or seniors to help, right?
Absolutely. We have a variety of clients that come to us, and so there are a lot of people that don't think they necessarily need a case manager, but we like to remind people that you do this one time in your life. We do this 60 times a day. So if we're handling people on a regular basis, we certainly know what is happening out there in the community all the time. And so you might come to us because your children are geographically located in different areas. You might come to us because you don't have any. Unfortunately, we also have clients who have family members who might be in jail or not able to be a resource to them for their own special needs requirements and things like that. And others are just planners, and they just want to have a backup plan set aside so that if the emergency arises, they know exactly who they're going to call on and who's going to be their sidekick through that emergency.
You know, and I remember asking you this one of the first times that I was asking you, because it's a new concept. I mean, you think, well, we go to Amy's office because we need help with getting our estate planning in order, or we might need help with the documents that you might need for going to the hospital to make sure you have all your paperwork the right way in terms of living will and things like that. Or the different things, that might come up into connect with that. But one of the things I remember asking you when you said, no, this is what we're doing at Amy's office. We have this case management department. I said, do you have to be rich and famous to be able to afford that? And it was interesting how your response was to that, because the answer is no.
No, absolutely not. You don't have to be. And there are many different case managers around town, and we establish ourselves in a different way. But for us in particular, we do an initiation. So we are going to gather as much information as we can for that imminent emergency down the road. And we're going to talk about what do we want to do in those situations. We're going to gather your IDs and insurance cards. We're going to talk through eventual plans, and the estate planning documents that you mentioned are a good starting point as well, because we want to know that you have someone to act on your behalf if you're not able to. And so we're going to talk through those and make sure we have them in a row. But then after we've established, you're really driving that train. So most case management services are an hourly service, and you're going to tell us when you want us to step in and for how long and what you would like us to do.
And that's another thing, because here again, I remember that you said it a minute ago, but I really remember that really hit home when Amy explained that. She goes, she said, we see clients every day, every week, and they're coming in, and what's just hit them is pretty complicated, and probably the first time in their life they've been confronted with this. And she said, one of the things is because we are doing this day in, day out, we really see this all the time. And that's why I kind of come back to that corollary that we add about don't try this on your own, because, what we usually think we're smart and we're going to, go on an online search and try to figure out how we're going to manage a situation. And yet we probably could get ourselves in more trouble than we actually did. Or I don't know about you, but many times I'll go to research a topic and I'll walk away from the computer screen more confused than I was when I sat down.
True, very true. And not that searching for that information on your own does not work, but you really don't know what direct sources to go to. And so for us, we already know exactly where to find out those answers. And if we don't have an answer, we're also integrated in a network of professionals around the county. And so we know exactly where to go to find the answer if we don't have it, whereas the average person, when you're searching for that, has absolutely no direction to go in. And so you could be working on something for a very long period of time that we could just send you direct to.
Yeah, it's so efficient, and then you're getting expert care and expert advice about how to manage the situation. And that's a point I wanted to actually ask Deidre Shubert with Brevard Alzheimer's as well, because through the Joe's Club, one of the challenges that I get is when you're the family member, you're like the loved one, and you're trying to figure out what to do with mom, dad, aunt, or uncle, or whoever that you're related to, that you're responsible for trying to make a difference in their lives. There's this big tendency to that we're the only ones in the world doing this. We don't know anybody else that understands what we're going through. We're all on an island by ourselves, and yet part of the thing that you do through the work that you do with Brevard Alzheimer's is you have programs that really help caregivers. Like we were just together at a Fearless Caregivers Conference, which I thought was wonderful because it really helped share the fact that these people are not on their own, that there is help. And as a caregiver, you have to kind of make sure that you're doing the right thing for the person you're concerned about, but without wearing yourself out.
Yeah, absolutely. And so obviously we have Joe's Club as our adult day health center, but we also have a bunch of different options for caregivers. And I will always, as an educator, say that knowledge is power, right? Mm-hmm. And so we do caregiver trainings, we do caregiver support groups. And so really focusing on giving caregivers more tools to their toolkit to help their loved one if they're still at home, and if they are attending Joe's Club or not. And so we do have case managers on site also that are helping the families navigate, do they need food assistance? Do they need assistance with in-home care? Do they need Joe's Club? Do they need medical equipment? Whatever it is, we try to help them every step of the journey, and then also with that education component.
Do you think that for a lot of us, when we're reticent to give a call to somebody, whether it be to Rachel McLain at the law office of Amy B. Van Fossen and say, hey, I heard you guys talking about case management, or if somebody calls Brevard Alzheimer's and said, well, I'm trying to see what might be out there that might help us. It takes us a while before we get there and we're willing to make a cry for help? I don't know. I mean, what's your experience with that? Either one.
So oftentimes we're getting calls when somebody is absolutely burnt out in crisis. Uh-huh. And when somebody's at that point, their options they're needed more immediately, and their options do become less.
Yes.
And so I love when I have a caregiver calling as a proactive approach. Like, my loved one may not be at this level yet, but I'm trying to figure out and get all my ducks in a row, right? Because oftentimes it's literally at crisis, and it may not be the first crisis that you made it through the first crisis. Great. It's that second crisis when you are just completely burnt out, and now your resources are more limited because you need them now.
See, I was thinking that as you were saying that, if I knew I could call Rachel McLain and say, well, here's what's going on with my mom. Is this something I need to be concerned about? What would be my next step? It would just seem like it would be so comforting to know that I have some, people that really know what they're doing to kind of guide you on those steps. I mean, I assume that's kind of what you hear a lot of times back from family as you're helping them, Rachel.
Oh, absolutely. You are right, Deidre, that people call us, unfortunately, a lot of times in a crisis mode. And for a great example of what you're talking about, if we are pre-planning and we're setting somebody up for success under case management, we're going to talk about what agencies you might want to use for home care or for hospice or for a skilled nursing facility. And if you come to us in crisis and you need someone within hours, we're literally going to be reaching out to those resources to find out who can fill that slot right now, versus the pre-planning approach where I'm going to pre-register you with each of these home care groups so that we've got 1, 2, or 3 different options, and I'm just calling on them to literally have somebody come to shift to you. So it is going to keep you from doing paperwork last minute. It's going to keep you from having concerns at the last minute, and all of that anxiety that you're surrounded by already in the crisis is eliminated because we have a solution that's immediate.
Yeah, I was smiling as you were saying that because it's sort of a weird analogy that came to mind. But if you've ever driven across the desert, you'll see you'll be passing a highway exit and it'll say the last gas for like 80 miles, and so so the problem is if you're stopping at that gas station, the very fact that they told you it was 80 miles means you're kind of out of options. So you're at the mercy of whatever whatever they can manage. If they have gas, if they don't have gas, what the price of that gas is, and things like that. And I think that's the thing that Nancy confronts so much with callers who call in. And she has this saying, she said, how do you know what you don't know? But if you call us while there's time for us to talk about options give you a lot of things, from financial opportunity to spend the least amount of money necessary. Also, you're able to think straight, right? You're not in a panic mode, right? Like, I got to do this and this has to be done tomorrow, because none of us make good decisions under those circumstances. And then on top of that, just that back and forth, like, you can help me understand what my options are, as opposed to me frantically trying to say, well, I guess I have to do this because I'm out of time.
Absolutely. If you're, for instance, in a skilled nursing facility and you're ready to transition to an assisted living facility, if we have a pre-planning approach and we're looking at those facilities, you're going to talk to them about the things that are most important to you on a daily basis. For instance, food. If you are eating someplace in one restaurant 3 times a day, every day of your life around the clock, you're going to care about whether the food quality is up to your standard. But if we're looking for a facility that we have to move on right away, we are going to be subject to what apartment availability there is, what affordability there is, and moving you based on only your care needs instead of your particular wants and desires.
So we're talking with Rachel McLain, who is Director of Case Management for the Law Office of Amy B. Van Fossen. We're going to be up for our mid-show break here, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk with both you and Deidre Shubert of the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation about a really important event coming up June 15th. But real quick, before we get to mid-show break, just wanted to have you share a number. If somebody says, okay, I'm into this case management, I want to learn more, how do they reach you?
You can call our law office directly at 321-345-5945.
Okay, well, that's real good. And we will be back with the second half of Helping Seniors Radio right after we take our mid-show break. Stay tuned for World Elder Abuse Awareness Day information.
12:33 in the afternoon here on the Talk to Me Network, home of Helping Seniors of Brevard. On this Wednesday afternoon, I'm John Harper. Let's get back to more of today's interesting program with your host and the Executive Director of Helping Seniors of Brevard, Kerry Fink. Kerry?
Hey, thank you, John Harper. Welcome back for the second half of Helping Seniors Radio. Every Wednesday lunchtime, we spend it together here on 90.3 FM WEJF. And hello to you if you're listening online, also at WEJF.net, or if you're just catching this as the podcast and continuing on a great conversation we started with none other than Rachel McLain, who is the Director of Case Management with the Law Office of Amy B. Van Fossen. And we spent the first half of the show learning a little bit about some of the ways that case management can really make a difference, both in terms of your own comfort, peace and comfort moving through things, but possibly even helping you make the best possible decisions based on the things that you are trying to work your way through. And so welcome back, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me.
And also Deidre Shubert with the, I think your title is Education Director. Am I saying that right? With the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation?
Yes, thanks for having me back. Director of Education and Outreach.
Director of Education and Outreach. And we're excited because there's a very important topic we want to get to that we really need to spend a few minutes about. And it's an important day. This has been going on for quite a while. I think it's like since the early 90s is when they came up with the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, because I don't think people are generally up to speed on how challenging it can be for seniors and how much stuff is going on out there. I mean, all you have to do is learn something about senior scams, and it's hard to pick up any kind of a news article without seeing something about that. But it can go even deeper than that. There could be physical abuse. There's lots of different definitions of that, and I think that's what this day is all about. Deidre, talk about what World Elder Abuse Awareness Day is designed to help us learn.
Absolutely. So, World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, we're going to call it WEAAD for short. It is a nationally recognized month of June. And so the actual day is June 15th every year. And so the whole point of World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, or WEAAD, is to bring awareness to elder abuse in general. You know, what are the different types? What to do if you are a victim? Because it's not always, you know, black and white of, well, is it psychological abuse? Is it physical abuse? And so bringing just general awareness to what are the red flags to look at for both those that may be victims, for caregivers, for professionals, just everyone around. What are the red flags? And then what to do if you are a victim or if you are suspecting of elder abuse, neglect, and exploitation.
You know, I think the statistics are actually pretty shocking when you start to look into, because we've all heard stories about the person who fell for the lottery scam. You know, you just won $20 million, but you got to send us $2,000 so we can ship you your money, which if you just thought about it doesn't make sense. But you know what, I keep reading about all the scammy type of stuff, and we have several great people who are always super scam fighters. Sheriff Ivey is one of them for sure, but also even our state attorney, Phil Archer, he publishes a newsletter every single month where he's trying to keep us up to date on the latest things that his office is seeing. So there's also a whole level of financial scams. But then one of the shocking statistics that I remember seeing was the percentage of elder abuse that happens within the home with a family member that ought to know better, for lack of a better way to put it.
Absolutely. And just to hit on some of those statistics, the latest research is showing up to 5 million Americans have experienced some form of abuse. And so that would be 60 and over is what they're considering an older adult. And they're saying about 1 in 4, just to bring it even closer home, would be 1 in 4 has experienced abuse out of that 5 million. But I've seen anywhere from 1 in 14 to even 1 in 24 cases are actually reported to the authorities. So that is very alarming that cases of elder abuse, neglect, or even financial exploitation just are not being reported. And so it is nice in Brevard County that we do have very active sheriff and state attorney that's bringing awareness to that, because especially with financial exploitation, I mean, you can literally click a link to an account you have, and then they just steal all your information. Another statistic that we have would be that 60% of perpetrators are family members or those in trust. So somebody that knows the victim, 60%.
Wow. That's a big number. That's a big number when you think about it. You know, and I think that's, and then, you know, I think one of the reasons it's probably underreported is, first of all, if you're the victim, and once you realize you're the victim, you feel stupid, right? Because you're like, I should have known better. Why did I fall for this? And I've heard everybody that I've ever heard who's kind of an expert on this, they always are counseling people saying, it's not your fault. These guys are really that good at what they do in the scamming. And so for you to have been taken by it is not, it's not as surprising as perhaps you're beating yourself up over, right?
Absolutely. And just to start, you know, if you are a victim, it is not your fault. You are not stupid. You were not gullible, whatever it is.
You're the victim.
You're the victim. Absolutely. And a lot of other times why it's so unreported is because if it is a family member, I mean, that's your child that you raised and now they're taking advantage of you. Or it's not always cut clean of, well, is it financial exploitation? You know, my son just needed sneakers. Well, now I'm buying him sneakers every week. And so sometimes it's not cut and dry, but then also there's this fear. If you're dependent on your adult child taking care of you, well, and they get in trouble, who's going to take care of you, right? Or if you're living together, where are you going to go? And so there's so many different reasons of why it's underreported, but that doesn't make it okay. It still needs to be reported, and there are resources to help.
Yeah, I was thinking as you were saying that, Rachel McLain with the Law Office of Amy B. Van Fossen, I know you're director of case management, but I remember doing a TV show with Amy, and it was titled, should I put my kids on my bank account or should I put my kids on my house title? Now, we're smiling because we know Amy's answer about that, but I guess you see a lot of those challenges even as people are coming into that office as well.
That's very true. I wish I could say that my profession existed just because it was a nice thing to have, but unfortunately, a lot of times people are coming to us because they're in crisis or because they have situations, and many of those involve some kind of abuse along the way, whether it has been a caregiver along the way, a family member, or sometimes even a stranger. But people come to us to try to resolve an issue once it's already started.
Wow. And I guess that's the point, really, when we talk about World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Again, you want to grab a pencil and jot this down because we're going to get into some details about this. The date that you want to keep in mind is June 15th. Am I correct? That's a Wednesday, right?
That is correct.
And it's Wednesday, June 15th. And you guys have actually put together quite a program that I think makes a lot of sense for people to get involved with. Yeah, we were talking before the show. You've really gone to great extremes to try to make this beneficial. We're talking about how important getting people educated is, and that's what I love about what this is going to represent. It's an opportunity coming up in Rockledge, so we're going to give you the information about the when and where. And so, Deidre, talk a little bit about what's getting ready to happen with this on Wednesday, June 15th.
Yeah, so Wednesday, June 15th is going to be our WEAAD 2023 event. This is the 14th annual year that we've done this, but this year is a little bit different. In the past, we've done kind of the Senior Expo layout where, you come and get your resources, get your free little handouts, all that. So this year, we're really focusing on information sessions. And so we have an information session with Ruth Rhodes, Esquire of Rhodes Law PA. She's going to talk about protecting yourself from financial exploitation. So that's the theme this year, is financial exploitation. Then we'll have a presentation from Rachel Sadoff from the Clerk of Courts that she's going to talk about, what to do if you are experiencing financial exploitation. And so we're hitting really the prevention and then the what to do if. In between each speaker, we're going to have very specific resources this year. We've really highlighted about 15 local resources that are focused on elder abuse, neglect, and exploitation. So we have professional guardians on site, we have professional case managers, even domestic violence shelters, all these different very specific resources this year. As Kerry said, it is at the Space Coast Health Foundation in Rockledge. So that is 1100 Rockledge Boulevard in Rockledge, Florida. It's on US 1, literally right by the Arby's. So there's not many Arby's around here. You can be able to find it. But it is 9 to 12, completely free. We do ask you to reserve your spot so we can make sure that, we have room for everybody. But 9 to 12 on June 15th is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. This is our 14th year, and it is in collaboration with an incredible team. We've been planning since January for this event, and I just wanted to give a quick shout out to my planning committee. We have Aging Matters. We have long-term care consults, we have Florida Healthcare Plans, Care Patrol, Health First Aging Services, Brevard County Housing and Housing Services. So it's literally a team, and I'm sorry if I forgot anybody, but a team of people putting together such a great event with such great information.
It is so important, and I think the key word that you mentioned is that it's, we think all these things cost so much to do, but yet this is a FREE event. You just need to let people know you're going to be there. If somebody wants to do that and make sure that there's space for them, how do they RSVP or get in touch or get a ticket or whatever the process is?
Yes, so to RSVP, you would call the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation's main line, so 321 253-4430, and you would do extension 104. So that's my direct line. I'm taking reservations. There's also flyers going around that have a nice QR code on them that will bring you to a JOT form so you can register online as well. But yes, please RSVP so we can get an accurate count of everybody that will be there.
Yeah, we actually took a column in our Helping Seniors newsletter. If you've picked up the May edition of Senior Scene, you always know to look for those yellow pages in the center of the magazine. That's where we publish or try to do our best to publish information that's going to be valuable for seniors and those who care for them. And we wanted to make sure that people knew this was happening because, prevention is so cheap compared to trying to cure. Once that $30,000 or $40,000 is out of somebody's bank account, it's probably gone, and it will take, moving heaven and earth to try to recoup some of it. And if we can just find a way to prevent some of this, we've really done a good thing. We've kept honest people honest, and then we've also helped the seniors stay safe, right?
Absolutely. And just a couple quick tips, don't click the link. Don't click the link. It happens all the time. You get a text message, you get an email from an account you have, Netflix or PayPal that says you've been locked out. Don't click the link if you don't know where it's from, right?
Can I just tag on that for a minute? Joe Steckler, our president and founder, he's 89, and he's probably the strongest advocate for seniors in Brevard County that I could ever actually think of. But, I would say this about him in a good way. He's very well trained. He'll shoot me an email and go, Kerry, what is this? And, and I'll go, don't click that, Joe. That's not something we want to get into. Because there is so much foolishness out there these days.
Absolutely. And, if you have a stranger coming to your door, don't let them in. Sometimes it is too good to be true what they are selling. And I've heard horror cases of a house cleaner coming in and turning into full power of attorney and signing all their legal documents over to them and taking full advantage of a senior couple. And so sometimes it is too good to be true. And so if you can do your research, ask, some friends, families, neighbors, if they've heard of whatever it is, before accepting anything or giving over money.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was smiling again about that TV show did with Amy about, should I put my kids on the house title or things like that? Because Rachel, you and I have talked about that before. Like, that's almost like the number one rule there in the law firm is like, we don't do this because we're trying to keep everybody in their correct lane and not creating even the potential for these kind of problems.
Absolutely. And I would say if you have questions about doing those things, that's where it's appropriate to have a consultation with an elder law attorney. The attorney is going to give you some advice on who's appropriate to be on any documents or any deeds and when that's appropriate. And sometimes there's repercussions coupled with placing somebody on specific areas. And I am not an attorney, so I want to make sure to make that clear. But as a professional case manager, one of the things that I hear in our office all the time is to be very careful about who you're choosing to trust on those documents. You're giving some very powerful authority to someone to speak on your behalf if you're not able to. And do you know that person well, and do you know they will follow through with your wishes as you would have intended?
Yeah, so important. So let's kind of make sure that people really get a minute to jot down this information about World Elder Abuse Awareness Day and how we're recognizing and trying to make a difference with it. We're looking forward from the Helping Seniors side of things to being part of this event. It really looks like you're going, pulling out all the stops to try to get good information into the hands of the people who are going to be able to be there. And again, the event is free, so no reason to not get it on your calendar for Wednesday, June 15th. Again, the time that it's going to be there, and if somebody wants to register, how do they do that, Deidre?
So June 15th, 2023, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Space Coast Health Foundation right off US 1 in Rockledge. To RSVP, you would call 321-253-4430, extension 104. There's also a flyer floating around that you can register online.
That's good. And then we've been talking, as you know, also with Rachel McLain, who is Director of Case Management at the Law Office of Amy B. Van Fossen. And we've been talking about a lot of topics here that might give rise to somebody wanting to call and do a follow-up with you as well. How do they reach you and your office?
You can call our office anytime at 321-345-5945. And we do have an after-hour service as well. So if you don't reach a live person from our office during business hours, you can leave a message and they will send us a message to get to you.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably in some cases 24/7 kind of stuff that you get to work through. And also always want to remind you of the Helping Seniors information number. That's 321-473-7770. That's an easy number to commit to your memory, 321-473-7770. Because if you ever hear us talking about a topic and you go, oh, I didn't get a chance to grab a pencil and write that down, just call Nancy. Nancy Deerdorf, 33 years registered nurse experience. She's there to serve and help you. And between her, Karen, and the rest of the team, they're going to make sure that if you missed something and you need the number or how to get in touch, there's a way to do it. So with that, and with you guys' permission, I think this is fun because I'm gonna shift a gear and I get to talk about some Helping Seniors stuff for a minute. And in fact, I'm going to talk about our car raffle. I know you guys just wrapped up a very successful car raffle that kind of keeps Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation running. And when I first met Joe and was talking to him, he said we should also do a car raffle because he says that's really a good way. It's a fun way for people to support the work of a nonprofit. And as you know, it's not easy. People just assume there's all kinds of funding out there, and that's really not the case. And when you get involved in the Helping Seniors car raffle, you are really helping us keep our little engine that could going. I mean, it's so important. It really is, for us, about half of our budget every year. So we encourage people to get involved in the Helping Seniors car raffle. It's been fun. In fact, Joe was saying that he and AJ Hires go back into the mid-'90s with car raffles for charities, because I think, honestly, maybe Joe was trying to figure out how to get Joe's Clubs built back in the day, and this was one of the tools that they thought, let's do a car raffle, and it's been very helpful. So this year, it's even more fun than last year because AJ has added another dealership. So the way this thing works is you get to pick which car you want to win when we pull your name on Saturday, October 7th, 2023. So, because AJ has basically one of every car dealer that could possibly matter, you get your choice. So, like last year, our winner, Gail McGinnis, local winner, she took the Chevrolet Camaro. That was one of the options. And again, it's one of the options in the 2023, our 7th annual raffle. There's a Dodge Challenger, which very well could be the last year. They're saying this could be the last year for the Dodge Challenger. 2019, a local winner named Gail Hoodless. That was what her pick was. She saw the car. We had it out there at the American Muscle Car Museum the night of the drawing. She won it, and she said, I want that car right there. And she's still kind. Whenever we do events, she'll bring that car back out. So you could have a Dodge or Chevy, or you could take, as it has been all the way along, a Mazda Miata convertible. You could also take a Kia Sportage, but now AJ has built himself a Mitsubishi dealership, so we've added a Mitsubishi Outlander. So when you get your ticket, one ticket is $25, $5 for $100 donation. When we pull your ticket, you tell us which car you want to go home in, and that's how the whole thing works. And when you get your ticket, the other nice thing is the American Muscle Car Museum is, in fact, a private museum, and so it's not typically open. You can't just say, I want to get a ticket and go see the museum. It's Mark Pylock's amazing collection of like 400 of the most special cars that you could ever imagine. They tell me it's the largest collection in North America, and Mark has been so kind every year that he's had the museum open. He's invited us back to be able to have our grand drawing there. And not only do people get to wander around, see all these great cars, but Mark even puts on a great event where there's refreshments, beer, wine, soda. And then he makes it really, because a lot of times they're doing black tie events. So you have to, $250 to get in or something like that. But he's always said, I want to make this plausible for seniors. So you get your ticket. Each ticket is an admit one to the museum. On Saturday, October 7th, between 6 and 9 p.m., you get to tour the collection. You get to maybe go home in a brand new car. But for sure, you're helping us in the work of helping seniors. So the fun thing is, I don't think I've ever had you two guys on the spot on the radio before to ask you, if you win, which car would you pick?
Oh,
so,
man.
Deidre, do you want to go first or take a minute to check your crib notes?
Oh, well, I think I'd go for the Mazda Miata. I used to own one back in the day, and the new one,
They are
fun.
So fun. I'll tell you, Vicky Moore, who's a licensed insurance agent, all of our people have they sort of camped out on a car. And she's like, I'm all about the Mazda. I drive a Mazda, so I'm all team Mazda all the way. So we'll see. If you win, you could be tooling in a brand new Mazda. How about you, Rachel McLain?
Believe it or not, I think I have test drove all of these cars, and I will tell you, I am a Challenger girl all the way. I'm sad that they are no longer going to make that car. I like my car to rumble.
See, you're just like Jennifer Barton, who's one of our board of directors. She has Seniors Helping Seniors, and when this first started all these years ago, her and Ashley Caswell, they each immediately took a side. Like, it's all about the Camaro. She's all about the Camaro. And then Jennifer said, no, it's all about the Dodge. So now for this will be the fourth year. We started this to try to settle this. Mark said, you guys can come out, run the cars out on our track. We'll bring cameras out, and we'll see if they can agree which is the better car. Well, of course, Team Dodge was Team Dodge, Team Chevy's Team Chevy. So we had to come back, do it the second year. We came back and did it the third year. So this is actually probably going to be the final showdown if this is the last for the Challenger. So I was talking to Jennifer this morning, and she said, no, it's all about the Dodge. So she would be right there in your camp, Rachel.
Are you asking the two of us to be your tiebreaker, and we can show up and test drive as well?
You're welcome to
test
come
drive
out.
them, yeah.
It's big fun. You got to go to DodgeVChevyChallenge.com because it's hilarious to watch these. Because our guy Hal puts these little GoPros in. They had drone footage last year, and it's just amazing. Because what happens is these people get in these cars, they hit the gas, and then it just becomes, I don't know how to describe it. It's a giggle fest. It's just that much fun, And so you could get how do you get a ticket? So number one. Rachel, I think you guys have tickets. If not, I'll send tickets over, but you can usually pick them up at the law office of Amy B. Van Fossen. You can get them by calling Nancy at 321-473-7770. You can get them directly online, Helping Seniors Car Raffle. All the Boniface Hires car dealerships have tickets. In fact, we just dropped some more off to Boniface Hires Dodge, who had sold through the tickets they had, which is a great problem to have. So we're happy to hear that, and we're happy because it's so important to keep us going, Helping Seniors Car Raffle.com. Well, we're getting towards the end of the hour. I just wanted to thank you again, Deidre Shubert with Brevard Alzheimer's, for coming in and sharing about this important day that's coming up, June 15th, World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. You've got a terrific program planned there in Rockledge. So one more time, real quickly, just the information and how people can register for the event.
Yes, June 15th, 2023, we have World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, WEAAD. It is 9 to 12 p.m. at the Space Coast Health Foundation in Rockledge. To RSVP, you'd call 321-253-4430. That is extension 104.
Okay, good. And we'll see what happens with you and your new Mazda.
There we go.
And meanwhile, Rachel McLain, who is Director of Case Management with the Law Office of Amy Van Fossen, number to reach you if somebody had a question about the things we're talking about.
You can reach us anytime at 321-345-5945, and we welcome you anytime to register for a free seminar in our office. They're offered weekly. You can register on our Facebook page or on our website.
Wonderful. And I will let Jennifer know you are Team Dodge all the way.
Absolutely.
So with that, that's our time for Helping Seniors Radio. We will see you next week right back here on 90.3 FM WEJF.